So everyone, this is Leah. So everybody, you might know Leah from American Beauty Star. She sat next to me. We were the tough judges next to Ashley Graham and Christy Brinkley. And I get to introduce her as a friend today because we not only have worked together, share the same stage, I can also introduce her as an amazing inspiration and boss that has been amazingly carved my career in the very beginning shooting for editorial. So let's jump right into getting to know Leah, guys.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like we worked together for like probably 10 years now, more than that maybe.
You almost made me spit out my drink.
Yeah, I know. It's like, but it has been so much fun over the last couple of years. And I think we met when I was at Cosmo. It was the first time we'd ever worked together, right?
Yes.
I believe the shoot even was the first time we'd ever worked together.
So guys, behind me that you'll see these beautiful, gorgeous images of our model Jessica Hart, and we will get into the conversation about this. Today, we're going to celebrate this shoot because it's so special, endearing to my heart, as well as Leah's. This is by the hairstylist, late hairstylist Oribe, who had passed away health issues a couple years ago, but his work lives on, and I'm going to let Leah talk all about that when we jump into that. But before that, Leah, tell everybody what it means to be an editor, a beauty director in a magazine.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really incredible. So I had about 20 years in doing beauty in print magazines, and just recently left print to go to digital. And I think, that time in print was so special. It was just, a time before the digital age had sort of taken things over, and you could create such fantasy, and you could just work with these incredible legends like Oribe and Pat McGrath, and like just all these people that everybody knows for being just brilliant geniuses, and being able to take a model who was of course gorgeous, but then transform her into something that people like Yu Tsai love to photograph and shoot, and just it was just such a beautiful time of my career.
How did you get started? How did you fall in love with beauty?
Well, I totally got started by accident. I was not even supposed to be anywhere near the journalism world because I was a psych major in college. I was going to go get my master's degree in psychology, and really just stumbled upon an assistant job at the time was Health magazine. And then just, once you sort of get bit by the bug, it's over, and you like never look back, because it is such an inspiring field, and you get to do so much as a beauty editor, which it's different than like a features editor at a magazine, which is really primarily responsible for creating the words and the ideas and editing things and making the word side of the magazine come to life. A fashion editor, for example, is really like responsible for just the visuals, and a beauty editor kind of has this world of both. They get to do the words, they get to do the ideas, they get to do the public appearances, they get to then do all this beautiful inspiration and aesthetic. So it was a really nice mix of what I always loved, which was, beauty sort of holistically, like for the eyes, looking and seeing beautiful things, creating beautiful things. And then also sort of the left brain side of writing and editing and all of that stuff. So it was a great mix of interest for me.
Well, for our viewers, a lot of the people are inspired and to be in the beauty industry and from an editorial side, because it is a very creative field. How did you go about getting your first job and the journey to Cosmo and where you are now?
Well, my first job, truthfully, I was still in college, and I saw a little tiny post in my college's career center for an assistant beauty and fashion editor at Health magazine.
Wow.
And for some reason, I thought that I could do it with a psychology degree, and ended up getting hired because I just had great chemistry with the person who had hired me, and who actually was an alumni of my college. So that was like the in. And then, I spent 4 years at Health, which at the time was owned by Time Inc. And then after that, I left to go to Self magazine, I spent like many years there at Condé Nast. Then I went to Fitness Magazine for a year, and then the job at Cosmo had opened up. And I was only at Fitness for a year, but I just wanted to work at Cosmo my entire career. And, you know, Cosmo at the time, especially, was, you know, selling, you know, 3 million magazines a month on the newsstand. And like the circulation was so huge. Kate White was the editor-in-chief there. She, in and of itself, was a legend. And it was just a really good moment to make a jump and to take what had been really like a beauty and wellness background for me, to go into more beauty and fashion, and just like a big reach, because there was just so many people who read the magazine. So I left and I did that. And then 3 or 4 years after I got to Cosmo, Kate White left and Joanna Coles came. And really, Joanna took what Kate had done and just took it to the next level. She really sort of modernized it. She gave it this more fashion appeal. She brought it into a different time period in a way.
And it's interesting because Cosmo is always known to be a bit of sensual, at times sexual, and it pushes the boundaries. And I thought Joanne actually brought sophistication to the brand. It was so eloquently interwoven throughout the editorial process. Because I hope that she would join me on this talk, because I would love to get to talk to her, because her journey is incredible and inspirational as well. And she's doing great things since she has left Hearst. But yes, I know that doing that transition, because that's when I really took notice of Cosmo. And as a photographer, in the very beginning, of course, I opened Italian Vogue and said, I want to be one of those guys. And as you work in the industry, as you evolve, you start finding what you're passionate about. And you know me, Leah, I love beautiful women. I love curvy women. And I love sexy women. And all of those words combined, I love powerful women. And I thought that's what you and Joanne have done when you guys came in, when the team gelled so beautifully, from anybody from the fashion editor, James, to booking director, Steven, all these people, I felt like that was the most cohesive I saw in a brand. And when I got asked to work with you, and when Steven called me, I remember Steven called me and said, hey, you want to do a story for us? And I said, sure. And he said, oh, I know you like to shoot covers, but it's not going to be a cover, but it's going to be better. And that was very intriguing to me. And I thank Steven for bringing my name up for this project. Because, guys, one thing you have to remember as a photographer while freelance in the fashion business, and we wait for that phone call every day. And there are big jobs, there are small jobs, and there are jobs like the one we got to do together for Cosmo that sets the path of my career. And it really did, because I wanted to be a commercial photographer. I never wanted to be just an editorial photographer who could bleach people's eyebrow for no reason. And it wasn't about sensationalism for my work. I love my work to balance between art and commerce, and I think Cosmo does that beautifully.
Yeah, and you know, the truth is that time period at Cosmo with that team, so it was with Joanna Coles, the editor-in-chief, Aya Kanai, who was the fashion director, James, who was the real hugely creative in terms of visuals within his styling, Stephen Brown, who you just mentioned, who was the booker. We said to each other on a weekly basis, this is a magical moment. Like, because when that happens and there's a team of people who see so eye to eye and who have such a strong vision and for the North Star of what this brand is going to do and change and be, and everyone is in line, it happens. If you're lucky, it happens once in your career, right? And so,
and not only did you guys align so beautifully, so well, that you had a TV show all about you guys.
We did. That's right. That's right. We did.
Let's talk about that a little bit, please. And by the way, guys, I know you guys have questions, and I see James are asking questions. Do me a favor, keep them coming. I have somebody actually writing them down, and we will have a Q&A section at the end of this talk, and we'll get to your questions as much as we can. So I want to know about you, from being a beauty director, fashion deputy director, all those titles you have. Oh my God, your titles are so many. that then you become a reality TV star.
Oh my gosh. Well, that was funny because you know, Joanna was known for just coming into the office and saying like craziest things. Like she had these crazy ideas, and then you wouldn't believe that that was what came out of her mouth. And that is what happened. One day she grabbed a group of us into a conference room and she was like, so we're going to do a reality show and it's going to be on E and it's going to air after the Kardashians every Sunday or whatever it was. And the same producers are going to produce it. And what do you think? And we all just sort of looked at each other like no one ever thought that that was what the meeting was going to be about. And she was like, all right, let's do it. And so we then, a couple of months in, had cameras every day coming into the office for probably, I think it was like a 3-month period that we filmed. We filmed at our houses. We filmed when we went out with our friends. We went out together. And it was really interesting because they're not, the core team, everybody was really themselves. That we weren't acting, none of us are actors. We would just come in every day, do our job, and there were moments of it that were super entertaining because people like me and James and Steven were so we were just such great friends, and we just said the funniest stuff all the time, like on our own naturally, and so it kind of did make for some fun TV.
I will say, I am so when I heard Cosmo was going to be on E, it made me so happy on a personal level because I remember when I first started doing reality television on American Next Top Model. I did a couple Kardashians actually. I have to say they actually paved the way. I did a couple of E first, and they thought I was crazy and I should be on it all the time. So I did a lot of appearances, and I honestly, Leah, during that time, a lot of people turned away from me. They thought if you're a legitimate photographer, you should not be doing that. Why are you shooting the Kardashians? And they're at the time were just starting to become influential. I did business deal with Kardashians on projects. I was there to shoot editorials, and I did a Cosmo cover shoot with them. And to me, I was
our 50th. I think that was the 50th anniversary cover.
It was the international one that carried everywhere.
Yeah,
it was so, and to me, when I saw Cosmo and what the direction you guys have taken, and my friends who I know are going to be on TV, I felt like I'm part of the family. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Because it was very, there's a stigma in the very beginning, and look at where we are now. We are still creating our own content, and this is where the new generation is going.
Exactly. And you were on that show because we did we shot that, the male models with their
the fragrance, big giant bottles of fragrance. I remember. Oh my gosh, I guess.
And we did that on that show.
Well, thank you so much for bringing us all into this reality show family. And just guys, this is what you can take away from this is that there's no rules in fashion truly anymore. Is embracing who you are. And I can tell you truly that when I saw the show, I was seeing my friends on TV. There was no acting, there was no fluff, and there were definitely very funny moments with Steven and James, which you guys have to go on E and take a look because they are hilarious. And I always feel, and I said it that day when I saw them on the TV the first time, they need their own show. They absolutely need their own show. You just can't stop laughing. And that's the type of energy it's like working with you. Now, let's talk about our shoot. Let's go to our shoot. So I talked a little bit about how excited I was to get this call. And the process of shooting, I want Leah to share with you guys is that a lot of people don't realize that when you, as a photographer, come on set and they give you a concept, they show you the boards, a lot of photographers, young ones especially, would say, oh, I think you should do it this way better. Oh, I think I'm going to light it different than what you have. But a lot of research have gone into this. A lot of meeting have gone into this, and art and commerce has been added into it. So Leah, will you walk through the process, what it's like in your office when you have from inception of a concept all the way to hiring a photographer, and then we can carry to what we did on set?
Yeah, because, you might, what we knew with this particular shoot is, I guess you approach a shoot two ways. You either have a superstar that you're shooting or that you've hired to take part in it. So in this case, that was Oribe. Or the opposite of that is that you have this sort of brilliant concept that you want to bring to life, and then you have to find the people to create it. And so we sort of started on the other side. We had the artist, And we didn't know what the concept was going to be at that
What,
point.
Leah, let's set up who Oribe is a little bit. Let's give everybody a
Yeah,
little history. Let's celebrate Oribe in just a minute. Go
totally.
ahead.
So Oribe is, if you certainly, I'm sure, know his product line, which I think is now 12 years old. And he was a Cuban-born hairstylist who really was one of the reasons why hair and makeup became sort of a thing on the runway. Like, really, prior to that, it was all about like clothes. Then, like, you know, you started recognizing the models and like they became kind of a thing. But then I think it was a Chanel show in the early 90s, and he did the hair where he put the hair in these like really messy bouffants. And at that point, nobody was really taking the time to get creative on the runway, and it blew everyone away. And then the following year, he did something really similar when he styled, it was when Marc Jacobs did Perry Ellis, and he sent everybody down in really grungy hair. And so it like made this statement again. And then all of a sudden, like this whole thing started to stick. And he is a really big reason why today on a runway show, you know the hair, you know the lead hairstylist, you know the lead makeup artist, you now know the lead nail designer. Like he paved the way for this industry, and he really helped pave the way for a lot of hairstylists. In the 90s, he did all of the supermodels that we all know, right? Like
All of them.
Cindy and Naomi. They were all friends. He did all their hair. And then what really catapulted him into mass, everyday people knowing who he was that J-Lo hired him to do her first album. And then at that point, they went everywhere together, and it was like that quintessential marriage between the celebrity and the hairstylist, and she sort of made him much more known in the masses. And you know, he had such a range of what he did. Like, he could do huge hair, he could do grungy hair, he could do updos, he could do anything, and it just became this legend. So we knew when Joanna came to Cosmo, we were really shifting a lot of the visuals, and we were taking everything up a notch in terms of fashion. And he was the first on my list. Well, probably he and Pat McGrath, which we shot with both of them that year. And when we got him, it was like, okay, well, now what? Like, what's the story gonna be? Because you have this legend who's gonna come to set and he's gonna do the hair, but you need a story, and you also need an incredible face to carry that story and bring it to life. And so that's, I think the next step was hiring Jessica and getting Jessica on board, because, you know, she's unbelievably gorgeous and perfect in every way today.
We got Leah frozen for a little bit there, and I'll take over here for a sec. So let's talk about, you froze a little bit, so I'm going to jump in really quickly.
Sorry.
Just so you know, guys, in the magazine world, that there are models who will only shoot for a certain magazine back then. I think now it's more prevalent that people cross over. And getting Jessica, we need to put a note on this, because it was Steven's hard work, and also Jessica's agent, Ali, who's the owner of the Lions now, that really, really thought this is an amazing collaboration. With Oribe, it came with a new level of respect on that set. So when we reached out to Jessica, it was no brainer, because she was doing covers of Vogue. She was in every magazine that you can imagine. And for her, it's not that Cosmo is not the level of the magazine, but the genre is different, right? It's a mass market, it's less couture, less Paris Vogue. But she loved Oribe's work. Ali knows Oribe for a very, very long time. And so through personal relationship, it does help for us to create a team and together to create this. So when Jessica said yes, how did you decide to hire this photographer?
Well, we knew who you were. We loved your work. And what we knew was that you would bring an energy to set that would, make everybody feel comfortable, which was very important to me because Oribe has always been, was at that point always associated with like fairly, like you just said with Jessica, like high-end magazines, very, very serious work. And Cosmo wasn't really like that. And so we wanted to make sure, because none of us had worked with him before, we wouldn't know what we were getting into. We wanted a known quantity and a known personality, which we knew that you had, to kind of make sure everybody was operating at a level that was like high energy, friendly. We were going to work as a team and get this done together. And then clearly, like, your work was just exactly what we were looking for. Your lighting, your vision, you know, the way that you're able to pivot on set is brilliant. And we were not going into a known quantity at all. Sometimes you do. Like, sometimes you walk onto set and you know everybody that's there. You know all the glam, you know the photographer. It's like old home week. You walk on, it's like just super easy. But this was a situation where we hadn't worked with the stylist, Anda Masha. We hadn't worked with Oribe. We hadn't worked with the makeup artist. I think the only person we had really worked with before was you, because you had shot for the magazine before. And Julie Candelic, who was doing the nails. Like, other than that, we didn't know. So having you there was an anchor in a way to sort of like steer the shoot in the right direction.
Well, thank you so much. For guys, for me to show up on the shoot that day, it was super, super stressful and at the same time exciting, because I know how much is writing on it, and I know Oribe's name and I know his work. In fact, I'll give him a nod to this, is that when Oribe shows up, he shows up with a tie and a suit, and he always dressed to the T. And no matter he's on a desert shoot or he's on the red carpet that nobody will ever, behind the scenes in a fashion show that nobody will see, he will always come 100% prepared as an elegant, beautiful gentleman. And I took note of that. And during that period, when I started having my crew put together, we all used to wear ties and we dress to the T. When we show up, we look like Backstreet Boys ready to do a music video. but those are the lessons I had got to learn from him. But that day was so special to me, Leah, that I get to photograph a legend at work. And I'm going to start showing some of these photos. And Leah, as you talk through, what was the main concept of this shoot?
Well, the main concept was hair that went from day to night. And the reason why this is actually the perfect example. The hair in this image starts with almost like a wet gel bun, high bun. And what happened was we were brainstorming like what hair ideas are interesting but really relevant to our reader. And what we knew was that our reader would sometimes do a bun like that. And the reason why she would do a bun like that during the day was because she was sort of setting her style up for the evening. And so this was the after shot of this particular set. So it went from the high bun on the top to then these big curls. And
so for Oribe, technically, he wasn't just showing up to do a different hairstyle. He's showing up to do one hairstyle that can transform to another. And we wanted to make sure that it wasn't fake. It wasn't that, we just redo and just put it together and tell people we can do it. He was adamant about creating looks that will actually transform, and you viewers at home be able to do yourself. And these images are available. I'm sure you can Google them online, and it's also on my website, and I will post them as well so you can see them on Leah's Instagram. But it was incredible to watch how he worked. Meticulousness of it. Just I want to show this image again. When photographers show up to do a beauty shoot, a lot of time we're asked to do this or this, or if we're doing hair, we're doing this. And what was so special as well on the shoot is that, Leah, you saw what the stylist Anna Masha was doing, and you thought this was beyond a beauty shoot right off the bat. You came to me, Yu Tsai, change your lighting. I go, change my lighting? We're doing beauty. I was like, right here, macro. And she's like, no, we need to pull back. We need to see the fashion. We need to see the attitude. And of course, I'm like, yes, I get to shoot fashion and beauty and hair. Why not? So
and that actually really this shoot and that concept set up a real pattern for then how we shot beauty for the next year or so. We incorporated fashion, like the fashion element, into so much of what we were shooting, and it was no longer this, it was this, right? And the reason that that happened on this set was because Anna and Masha came to set with the most curated rack of clothes I'd ever seen. And like, I was very nervous in the beginning because usually, you know, you work with a stylist, they come in with 5, 6, 7 racks of clothes. There's so many options and you feel comfortable knowing that there's all these options. But they had this very curated set of clothes. Everything was in the same tone family. It was like whites, creams, silvers, metallics, but it also all had texture to it. So there's a one image where she looks like she's wearing almost like chainmail. I think it was a tank. It was like a tank top, or it was a shirt. I forget which one it was. Yes, and then there was this like silver, almost metal looking tank top that, so when we, yes, exactly. So when we started seeing this stuff on Jessica paired with the hair, it was like, this is really a fashion shoot too. It's not just a beauty shoot. And then that became our inspiration as we moved forward. We started planning beauty shoots as though they were fashion shoots. Which takes the energy of the film to like a different level, because you're seeing textures and you're seeing movement and you're seeing all these other things. And you know, that made that shoot special. The other thing I would say, and this is a credit to both you and Oribe, is that, you know, around this, so this was 2013, I think, when we did this shoot. Like it was early 2013. Around that time, it was still before people were and the industry was moving toward this more lived in kind of naturalness to it, right? So the people were still shooting and photoshopping galore, and they were making hair and makeup perfect, because that is what they knew to be, because that's how the 90s were, it's how the early 2000s were. And then a total shift happened in the industry, and everyone just wanted more, everything to be more real. It was around the time that like everyone started to get on Instagram, and everyone just wanted this more realness to it. And what I love about this film is that there, even like the tendrils in the hair that you first showed with the bun, like as natural as that seems right now, it was not happening then. Like people wanted perfection. Glam team members wanted perfection on set. But you can see
flyaway was a no back then.
No.
I remember that in this shoot, I remember that Oribe with his dry shampoo spray there, pulling out pieces. Yeah. I mean, pulling literally pieces out of this fishtail braid to make it chunky and messy, and it was magnificent to watch. It was so beautiful to watch how he worked. By then, I have shot a lot of hair campaigns. I've seen how people do their work, and surprise you guys that hair campaigns are a lot of trickery. We throw the hair, we use tools, we use wind, we use mirror to bounce the light, we put oil in the hair to create the shine, but this shoot, honestly, it's, I would say, the most authentic hair beauty shoot. We did not remove a single flyaway. In fact, was encouraged to make sure it's there. And I will give a little nod to Jessica Hart as well. When you do a shoot like this, when I ask to do a shoot with multi-concept with one model, I sometimes get worried as a photographer, because then my responsibility to carry the tone all the way through is all on me. Because the models then are changing from one picture, one element to the other. And then when you tell me we're going to pull the hair back, or we're going to do bangs, we're going to do, some models just don't do well with bangs. Some models just don't do well with hair pull back, because the forehead is like my size, like 2 hands. And it's different for everyone. Jessica brought this incredible sensuality, the energy that she brought, the way she looked at you. You can see from the picture behind me. It's, you can't stop looking at her. When she looked away and screamed, and I remember the shot that she was screaming, and I asked her to scream, and she faked it. And then I said, no, I want you to really scream so much your hair actually bounce and move. And when that moment happened, we all went, oh,
Yeah, we did.
oh my God, that was so, it was breathtaking. And that's a great model at work. And because this shoot was so perfect that everything gelled together so beautifully. And it's one of the shoots that I have to say I remember. We didn't have to shoot 300 frames to find one good frame. And within 10 frames, we're like, got it. Let's go. It was done because that, and then the transition between the hair 1 to hair 2, it was like those magic show that people do quick change, you know?
Yeah.
And
Well, when you go in with a map of having to fill 8 pages with imagery, it's intimidating because that day you don't know if you're going to get 8 images, but you have to come back with 8.
So we're going to talk about, so this is a day look, right? This is a straight hair day look, which is a blowout that you can do flat iron. And you see that beautiful wind of wispy hair that just runs under her chin. Those are the magic moments that we love in photography. And then Leah, what did he do to create the evening Kate Mossy, sexy texture?
Well, you know, that was his brilliance of that Perry Ellis show. I think that he was sort of, I'm sure, had to think about when he was doing this, because it was a combination of like some oils and some of that texture spray that he's famous for, which I actually have in my hair today. And he just like loaded it up with product to make it look really, really sexy. And it was literally a story about product. It had nothing to do with styling, really. There was no heat that he put on it. There was no tool that he used. He was just running things through the hair. And, you know, as an incredible visionary in that moment, like wet hair came back like a couple of years after that, but people weren't really doing it then. And he just had this vision of like doing this wet hair, and it was perfect.
And this one I love because it was so youthful, but it still looks elegant. I have never seen a fishtail braid with a twist on top. That was incredible. And I remember asking him, I said, Oribe, so why this? Why the twist? He goes, his answer to me is, you will see when I change it from day to night. And this is the screaming shot with Jessica. So this is transition from the evening. And you can see from all the twists and rolls that he had preset the hair. And when it relaxed out, it became a whole entire different look.
Also, he just was not the hairstylist who you'd think or associate a sort of mohawk style with. Like he just was, he didn't do hair like that. And that's what I walked away from this shoot with, such a respect for. He came out of his own box in a way. Like he was trying things and doing things that he wasn't really associated with. Now,
I mean, look at the elegance of this shot. Look at the perfect sweep. So that's a little 60s twiggy, little side sweep, a deep side sweep hair. And then we asked them, well, this girl doesn't look like she goes out to party. How do we get her to become a party girl at night? How can she transform herself into a Cosmo girl in the evening? And a twist and a turn and a flip of the hair, he gave her bangs.
Yeah, so
look at his bangs.
Okay, this was to me the most magical moment of the day, which there were many, but this was the most magical moment of the day because when you say this was the most perfect shoot, it really was, until we got to this look. When he did the morning style of this, when it was just that twiggy 60s sort of updo, we didn't know where it was going to go. There was really not a lot of places it could that we hadn't already captured in an after already. And so we were nervous and did not have any idea what was going to be that shot. And we actually went into set that day with this one being an unknown. Mm-hmm. We just weren't sure. And we kind of let him figure it out.
We had to trust him.
I will never forget. He walked up on set. He flicked a piece of that hair out of the bun and pushed it forward. And I was like, did he just give her a bang? Like, what happened? And he did. And, you know, again, you, Jessica, you positioned her in this perfect way. She comes up with like, I'm going to blow this bang out of my face. And it created an amazing shot. And it's just to say that on set, there are and will always be problem
and
children,
unknowns,
right? Like,
yes.
like the unknown, like this was the problem child look of the day. We did not know what was going to happen. And somehow it typically always works out. And if you have an A team like we had that day, it works out in a way that ends up being your favorite shot of the whole day. It's crazy.
It's crazy because, and we talked about this on the other episodes of the series, that it's those opportunities I love, the happy accidents. And we waited, I think we waited. Oh, another thing people didn't remember is that we did 8 looks. So Oribe had to figure out how to not have to wash your hair completely out between the main looks, transition looks that we can go and build on. And that's the brilliance in a legend like him. And if you guys don't know his work, please Google him. Please look at all the amazing work he has done with celebrities. And beyond that, he has done so many editorials and with Steven and with all the best of the best photographers out there. And we will always say this, when you open a magazine, there's a reason why there's a page that credits a photographer, and there are an area that credits hair, makeup, and styling. When I first got started to shoot, photographer's name was the last person I looked for. I looked for the fashion editor and beauty director's names because I know those are the people who's going to educate me and help me. And emulating photographers' work is easy, but knowing the team that can actually put it together, that's most important. It truly, truly. Because when I first started shooting, Leah, I shot here because I didn't have anybody to help me with hair, makeup, so I shot raw a lot, and I slowly built a team that can start from here, then I start pulling back, and then eventually Anda and Masha is actually one of the few very first stylists that trusted me, and we worked together. We grew together. We started industry around the same time, and their energy is very infectious. And we're like sisters and brothers. We will fight to the end for the perfect belt on Jessica. Remember, like that energy drives excitement, and there's a balance on set that's so important for all of us to always remember. Well, Leah, I couldn't be more proud, and thank you for including me in the Cosmo shoot and the Hearst family. I meant to say Hearst family. And it's since then you have evolved into yet another beauty position and making more influences to the masses. Share that with us.
Yeah, so I left Hearst after a 10-year run, and this was last January, to come to a company called Dot Dash, and it's all digital, and I am overseeing the content, the Byrdie website, so Byrdie.com, which is all beauty, and also brides.com. Which
wow.
And for everybody, we had acquired brides from Condé Nast last year. So
one of my favorite magazines to shoot for. Can I tell you?
Beautiful.
I'm gonna just segue to a story for you. When I got called to shoot brides, I was like, told my agent, why would I shoot brides? I'm doing all these covers of brides. And then I got an email saying, you need to get on a conference call tomorrow. I get on the phone. It's an entire team from Condé Nast. And I won't mention the name who yelled at me. She said to me, she says, do you know there are 5 people on this list? I'm like, oh my God, it's like American Next Top Model. I'm going to get voted off. And she said, and these 5 lists has been approved by Anna Wintour. So the decision is yours. You want to remain on the list or you want to be off the list? That was that simple. And can I tell you, I'm so glad I got that lesson taught to me. And I end up going to Paris for 3 days, shooting a 3-day story with brides. And it was so luscious and beautiful. The experience is amazing. So if we can collaborate on brides, I will work with you any day, anytime, because I learned my lesson.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, so we have a little group called the Beauty and Style Group, and so that's what I'm overseeing. And my job now is certainly less about what I was doing creatively at Hearst. You know, I'm not like on set all the time, and I'm not sort of in the weeds editing anymore. I'm really just creating strategy for the group, for the brands themselves. And it's a different kind of job. It's like but I love it so much. And it's sort of just taking the things that I was doing at Hearst and kind of going up a notch and becoming a much more strategic leader. Which, you know, there are days where sometimes I'll get to edit something and I'll be like, oh my gosh, it's so much fun to edit something because I haven't done this in so long. But overall, I love the progression and sort of the metamorphosis that's happened in the last year. I'm so grateful that I'm able to understand digital, that I'm able to work in that world, that they would have even given me a chance to do that because I really wasn't doing digital at Hearst. And they sort of took a chance knowing that I was not super familiar with that.
Wow. Leah keeps saying she's not familiar with this, familiar with that, but if you guys know Leah like I do, she has been on all the morning TV shows on GMA, so Good Morning America. She's been there telling you what the it fashion is going to be, the it looks going to be for the season, how to protect your skin during the summer, and how to keep them hydrated during the winter. So she comes with an abundance of knowledge. And one lovely thing that I want everybody to know is that not only did I get to work with her as my boss in the way of Cosmo, we got to share a stage together on American Beauty Star, and that was such a special moment for me. And just the fact that, you know, you work so hard in your career to get to a place where you feel like you're among your peers. And photographer, we have a very lonely world. We are by ourselves. Truly we are. We're not the hair, the makeup people in a glam room that get to chit chat and figure out how their day is. They know what they eat for breakfast before they even get in front of my light. We're there to really just capture that moment. So when I have an opportunity, when I was given an opportunity to sit next to Leah, to be able to share in a very, how do I put it, a same level in a way of supporting other artists on that show, that was an incredible honor. Absolutely most incredible honor to be able to sit next to you and talk about beauty and disagree about beauty.
Yeah, and we had the best time, and Christy Brinkley, who was our third in our trio, just kept us laughing all
Guys,
the time. We
had a nickname. Well, three of us had a nickname.
Oh, remember? Yeah. What do we call ourselves?
We're the hot misses.
The hot messes, yeah.
Because, and in any other shoot, the crew would sometimes separate the people of his personality and whatnot. You couldn't keep three of us apart. And we were always supposed to do single interviews, remember? And we always end up doing triple interviews together because we just couldn't leave each other alone.
No, and honestly, I always say there was one night, because we filmed the whole series in, I think, 12 days in Atlanta. And there was one night.
Oh my God.
I will forever remember as one of my most favorite nights in my whole life, my whole career, which was Beyonce and Jay-Z were playing at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The three of us went.
Thank you, Sir John, for the tickets. We love you, Sir John. And by the way, come and talk to me about beauty on this show.
And then afterwards ended up at a Waffle House in the middle of Atlanta, where Christy just told us stories of how she was discovered in Paris and what her life was like. And it was just one of the most surreal nights of my life to be sitting there with Christy, who at that point, I'd only really known for 7 days, but I felt like I had known her for my whole life because she's so open and honest and just welcoming. And it was incredible.
I definitely extended an invite for her to come here to share those stories with everyone, because everyone needs to hear how this little girl gets spotted and become the most iconic beauty brand ambassador. Until today, she's still doing it. You can't stop her. She just finished her Broadway show in Chicago. I mean, come on. It's insane.
She's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Well, I know we have a lot of people here asking questions, so let's jump into our Q&A portion of the show. So James, our friend James, wants to know. I think it's great that James is charming and asking. So I'm going to read it out from here. Tell us some of your favorite beauty taglines. Ooh, that's a good one.
Beauty tagline.
What was the one that? Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. Was that how it goes?
That's a good one. Yeah.
Wait, is it? Did I say it right?
You did.
Is it don't hate me? No.
I forget.
CoverGirl, isn't it?
I don't know. I mean, I guess since we were just talking about Christy, we have to say it's easy breezy beautiful, right?
That's right. That's easy breezy CoverGirl. That's right. That's true. Favorite tagline. I gotta give this one to you, James. I love Paris Hilton's tagline. It's hot. That's hot.
That's a good one.
I love that one. What's Maybelline's? Oh my gosh, I'm so bad at these taglines. That's a really great question. This is like a game. I'm gonna scroll down here. How do you put volume in the crown of your hair?
How to get volume.
Yes.
In the crown. So, I mean, the secret and that everybody uses is back combing, but I actually just don't think that's the easiest thing to do on yourself. I think it's really easy when you have somebody else doing it for you. So, I mean, what I use is just a ton of dry shampoo. I think it works better than texturizing spray. I think it's easier to do than combing it yourself. And you can just build it and kind of like keep tousling it until you get it to the height that you want it.
So what is your favorite hair product right now?
My favorite hair product right now, I would say, so the thing that I do use almost every single day is the Oribe texturizing spray. Because it just, you can do anything with it. Like it just makes sure it gives you this grit that makes your hair look cool and modern. There's a new brand called,
excuse me.
There's a new brand, well, it's not new, I guess, but a lot of people haven't heard of it, called Fat Boy. And they make this really cool like pomade jelly that also does something similar to the texturizing spray, but it's just in more of a liquid form. And I like those types of products that give your hair life without you having to do a lot of work. So you just kind of like put them in and then they do the work for you. Because I just don't really love doing my hair, to be honest with you. It's not something I enjoy. And I'm also almost 9 months pregnant and have a 5-year-old to take care of. So I don't have time to do it either.
Congratulations on that. And you're homeschooling, I'm sure, right now as well.
Oh, yes. Homeschooling. We're just doing it all here.
But I love it. But thank you so much for taking the time away from homeschooling and being with. I'm glad I catch you before you were in the hospital giving birth to a baby.
I know.
Well, I want to welcome you back because we have so many other things we can talk about. Maybe next time we'll talk about skincare because you are in the industry in the forefront of knowing what's new and what's not to put on your face. So I would love that. And you guys, make sure you follow Leah on her Instagram. And this story will be live on my Instagram and it will go to YouTube in about a week time. And we will post all the links of the images and also the products we have talked about and hopefully answer some of your questions as well below. So thank you guys again for joining me on Let's Talk. And this series is all about dedicating our time to share with you our creative process and put a smile on your face. And I hope we got to do that today. So thank you, Leah, so much. And I will see you again soon. And not soon enough on a photo shoot. I'm telling you, I need to shoot brides. I don't think it's digital.
You need to shoot Byrdie too.
I will. It'd be my honor to come back and join forces together and create. So thank you. And thank you, Oribe, again, for your brilliant talent that you brought into our industry. We'll never forget about you. And thank you, Jessica, being our model and giving us permission to use the photos. And I hope Ali, her agent, will actually come on here and give you guys a little bit of background story how to become a model and how model agent relationship really work and how they become stars because of them. All right. Well, until we see each other next time, you guys stay healthy out there and stay strong. And I love you, Leah, and I will see you again soon. Bye, everyone.